There's a lot happening with New Jersey's child welfare system. We want to help you make sense of it and share our story. This is DCF on the Air.
This is DCF on the Air, and I'm Jason Bukowski. Welcome to a new year and a new season of DCF on the Air, the podcast where we talk about the transformational initiatives and projects happening at the Department of Children and Families that are really reshaping the services that are available to families and children in the state of New Jersey. Today, we're talking about a program, Family Connects New Jersey, which offers universal home visiting to families in the state of New Jersey. This program was launched last year, January of last year, and we're right about ready to roll out the next 6 counties. So this is being implemented on a phased-in approach. We're going to talk to some of our nurse home visitors and one parent who's received services through this program, and I'm going to turn it over to them to introduce themselves now.
Hello, my name is Xiomara Diaz. I'm the Director of Nursing for Family Connects New Jersey with the Partnership for Maternal Child Health of Northern New Jersey.
Hi, my name is Adama Ture, and I'm a nurse home visitor with Family Connects, and I service Essex County.
Hi, my name is Janina Fisher, and I'm an Essex County mom of Juliet. And I got to have a home visit, I think 2 actually, but usually I'm here to just answer questions.
Well, welcome to DCF on the Air, and welcome to our first baby New Year on the program.
Juliet.
So my first question is to you, Xiomara. Now, you're representing Partnership, which is our nurse provider agency in Essex County, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And, in January of 2024, we launched in the first 5 counties, which was Essex, Cumberland, Gloucester, Middlesex, and Mercer. And in that time, we know we've supported about 2,000 families, actually might be closer to 2,500. I'm wondering from your perspective as someone on the ground supporting the administration of this program, how is it going so far?
Universal home visiting has been one of the greatest things to come to New Jersey residents. We've had such a positive feedback from our families within its first year. Our community is getting in-home support in a way that is incredible. They have a nurse that's coming into their home to educate them and to also connect them with many resources in the community that they may not even realize were available to them. We also have the nurses are able to follow up a family within a week to really make sure that what they're providing in the home is really connected. They're really getting that connection with what was discussed in the home. It's also been a great year for our team and most importantly, our families, to be honest. We are truly meeting our families where they are in our healthcare system.
Oh, it's fantastic to hear. And, when we launched this program, we envisioned this as, being a support to families, whatever their experiences are and whatever needs they may have. So to hear that we're actually hitting those needs, I think is really great.
Yeah.
Adam, are you also with Partnership?
I am, yes.
Perfect. So I'm wondering if you can walk us through what that first visit looks like when you go to the family's home. Just walk us through what that
Absolutely.
looks like.
No, that's actually a very common question because we are a new program. So the visit is pretty much like broken up into 2 parts. Can be like an hour and a half to 2 hours typically. The first half of the visit is usually focused on mom. We're going over her pregnancy. We're going over the delivery. We're going over like postpartum warning signs, things that she should be looking out for, like in this postpartum period. We assess for postpartum depression as well. And it's really just getting her story, like how has things been since coming home? Just identifying any challenges. And the second half of the visit is focused more on baby. We're doing head-to-toe assessments on baby, weight checks, and a lot of education because I think a lot of times, like, you just don't know what you don't know. And we see moms usually like 7 to 14 days after delivery. So like within that time, a lot of questions come up. You're home with the baby and, I think that's when a lot of the questions come up. And just to kind of go back to mom for a second, we also do a physical assessment on mom. So we're doing the blood pressure check. If she had a C-section, we're assessing the incision site. Really just making sure we're like hitting all of those things that possibly can go wrong for mom. Yeah.
It's interesting because, part of my role with the department, I've been working a lot with the marketing of this program, from a statewide basis. And what we found was that when we were doing like our initial research and talking to parents about what they wanted to hear about this program, one of the most resonant points was focusing on mom's needs. Because I think that so much, when you bring home that new baby, it's all about baby. Yeah. And Janina, I think you can probably attest to this. Everything is about the baby, and it should be. But mom has needs too. Dad has needs too. The whole family unit has questions that they'd like to get answered. And being able to speak to those needs and being a support for the entire family, I think is what Family Connects was really built around. The other thing that I heard you say was the weight check for the baby. And it was so interesting when we were doing our marketing research, how important that was to families to get that weight check at the time of the nurse visit. Because it's just one of those milestones that every family encounters. They want to hear, oh, how's my baby doing? What's the weight? Like, that's like the second question that comes up. So I think that's interesting that's just something that has been kind of coming back. I'm wondering, what are some of the other questions that you may have encountered when you were doing some of the home visits?
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you said that all the attention goes to the baby, because I think subconsciously moms do it as well. None of their questions are about themselves. Like, even if there are things that we notice, like, you might want to follow with your OB about this. It's usually us that's like pulling it out of them. All of their concern is for the baby as well. So, along with like the weight check, it's like we do a lot of breastfeeding support. So it's like, is my baby getting enough food, which ties into the weight check. Things like there's a weird rash on the baby. Like, is that okay? I get that one often as well. And let's see. Just drew a blank. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Weight. I think weight is really like one of the biggest things, the breastfeeding support, the weight gain,
Crying.
yeah,
The baby sleep.
right.
Yes.
A lot of white definitely when the baby is sleeping.
Yeah, feeding gets
Getting adjusted to take.
Right.
and there can be like latching issues or just little things that like moms maybe just don't know,
Yeah.
like throw up versus spit up or so many things.
Like, how do I know when to take the baby?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And the pediatricians don't always, I guess, have the time.
Yeah.
So, or they can be very quick to sort of dismiss a concern because you're a first-time mom. Like, I had two very big concerns that got dismissed, but luckily they were caught.
Yeah. Where can we start? Sorry.
I mean, it's like they say no two babies are the same, right?
Yeah.
So it's this huge wide gap. Like when you're talking about baby poop, like I know they brought a lot of information about baby poop.
That's a big one.
That is a big one because there is a wide gap. But then for my child, she got dehydrated, right? That baby poop was not normal. And I must have called the pediatrician. I was calling every day. So finally Friday, I was like, that's it. I'm taking her to the ER. And she was dehydrated. She had milk protein allergy, like very serious. She was hospitalized for a week. So it's those kind of questions when like you'd think a pediatrician would just say, okay, you're calling me every day, go to the hospital. But they don't.
Yeah.
And you guys seem to kind of just, like be another layer of, you're not a crazy mom. You actually, want to see your kid thrive, right? Yeah. Like some pediatricians can be like, you're a crazy mom. I also went to a pediatrician. She was stuffed up. It's normal congestion. Well, 48 hours later, it was not normal congestion. She had RSV.
Oh.
So it was, again, another week at a hospital. So when you don't have a good pediatrician, which now I have a good one, but well, so far so good. You never know.
Sure. Yeah, and I know like my daughter had RSV, so I know that that's like a, it's a different kind of cough, and it's like, oh well, I don't know that this is something I need to be, hearing for, listening for, anything like that. So it really does.
That's what I mean, like telling mom, like there's a normal congestion for a newborn, and then there's retractions and missing feedings. So that was the thing that they did not tell me.
Yeah.
But it's, pretty, like once you look, you can find, and then, I don't know how much of that is relevant. But the program is great. Like it really supports moms, to just. go with their gut and like,
Yeah.
not just say, okay, it's fine. The pediatrician says it's fine. I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's some really great feedback as far as like some of the questions that come up, when you're connecting to families. And I think that when we thought about this program, it was, how can we support new parents, but also, and Janina, I think you said it, no two babies are the same. So even if you are, experienced and you know all the brands, like we were talking about at the beginning, and like all the best positions to lay your baby and all of that kind of stuff, you still can use some support. I think every family can use some support. Janina, I'm wondering, you were one of the parents, obviously, that received services through our program, through our nurse visit, Lorena, who's in the studio with us today. Can you talk a little bit about your experiences kind of leading up to that visit? What was it like in terms of expectation versus reality? And how did you hear about us in the first place?
I can't remember. I know I was excited to sign up because, you're doing like so much stuff to prepare for your baby. And I had already taken classes and I'd already, had my like routine, gym, like so much stuff to prepare for this one.
Yep.
And so I was on the website. I think I Googled it. Someone told me about it, I think. And it was like, I thought it was a statewide thing, like it was just mandatory or like if you wanted to participate, you could. So I am in Essex County, right? It's one of the counties. So I signed up. I think someone contacted me. Was it like, it was pretty close to, oh yeah, it was right before 39 weeks. Or like, I was basically being induced, right? So, and then there was a lot of stuff that happened. So we rescheduled. So by the time they came, I was pretty like, I don't know, like just, you expect one thing and you do all this research and then it's like the total opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So my expectations were really high, but also at that point, I was kind of like, I have the baby. I was like, just not, they weren't, I was like, let's just have them come. I think my mom was there. I think was my mom there, Lorena? Because she was like there when the baby was born. So, yeah, but they came with all this like beautiful equipment, totally sanitary, which was nice. Like they had little foot booties, which I thought were like they had thought of everything, and then, guess we didn't cover everything. So when they came back, I had already had like another thing with my child. So I went to the hospital. So we rescheduled that. But they came back and they, now she's doing great. So, but it was, she had like, because of the milk protein allergy, like failure to thrive, right? Because she wasn't able to absorb those nutrients. So I think they caught it in one of the weight checks. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was them, and there was a lactation place I was going to too. So they kind of caught it, but no one really said like, it could be this milk protein allergy, which is very normal. I guess the kids have it a lot.
Yeah.
And they outgrow it at 6 months, right? Yeah, or they could outgrow it. So, yeah. So my expectations were high and they were all met. Like it was nice to have someone with a digital scale. I think one of the pediatricians I brought her to had like this really like not digitized scale, so that weight wasn't accurate.
Sure.
That was something I remember. All of the cool swag, like the skip and hop stuff and like things I hadn't thought about purchasing for her, like travel stuff that I brought with me today, like the diaper travel, changing pad. That's very good to have. Lots of information, lots of resources. Trying to think stuff you can share with like the dad and stuff you can just share with caregivers. Yeah, so they were met. I love the program. I love to support the program. I think maternal health and like baby health is so important, right? You can't have one without the other. Sure. The mental health support, right? You guys had like that in there, and the screenings, health stuff.
Yeah.
I had a list. I don't know if that's exhaustive. Sorry.
No, that's a lot.
Okay.
But I think that there's a couple things that you said that I think are really relevant. One is that, your nurse visitor was able to actually identify some of the health concerns and direct you to get follow-up. one of the areas, and looking statewide right now, one of the programmatic areas where we're looking at is that in 15% of cases, there may have been some sort of health issue for mom, for baby, in which we referred to follow-up care. That it wasn't okay to just wait for the regular checkup, that we wanted to follow up. And most of the time that was due to hypertension. And what we found was that was the big one. And that is a leading driver in maternal mortality. So being aware of that, this service is a great support, not just on the healthcare side, because they provide, great resources for parenting, for any questions the family may have. You said your mom participated. I think that's fantastic. When we think about this program, it is for the entire family. It's not just mom and baby. But I think that also that health impact and how we're able to identify health needs and get parents and babies to that health resource to get the follow-up that they need. I think it's just a fantastic aspect of the program. We're getting ready to launch this program now in 6 new counties. So I mentioned the first 5 is Essex. You're going to have to quiz me. Essex, Cumberland, Gloucester, Middlesex, and Mercer are our first 5. Next 6 are Bergen, Hudson, Ocean, Passaic, Somerset, and Sussex.
Correct.
Thank you. Janina, what advice would you have for a parent in one of those 6 new counties?
Definitely signing up for it, because I think it doesn't just happen. Like, the hospital's not going to make that connection, right?
In some cases, they are.
They are, okay.
There has to be, I think there's some
They
agreements
should.
that we're working through with some of the hospital systems, the bigger hospital systems, to allow the nurses from Family Connects to talk to parents ahead of time before discharge.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just like, having, like, I was thinking would be so cool to have like a billboard for it, so people can just see it. Because I don't even know. I went to the website. It was like a very little thing, and you just pop your email, pop your telephone,
Yep.
your due date, I think. It wasn't like, to maybe your birth date. I don't know. You pop in some information and then they call you.
Yeah. Yeah, and
It's very easy to access.
it's interesting that you brought up billboards, because again, going back to my other job, so I'm not just a podcast host, but I also do communications for the department. And as we're thinking about how do we get the word out about this program, our biggest focus right now has been social media. Not every parent's on social media, we know that, but from a targeted perspective, it's easier for us to reach out to those families that are eligible rather than putting it broadly out. Yeah, if you put a billboard on the turnpike, you're going to get lots of calls to the nurse providers. You're going to get lots of interest forms submitted through the website, but not every family is going to be eligible. We want to make sure that we're being very targeted as we roll this out. I think billboards will definitely be coming in the future, but it's being really mindful about how we do that in a way that makes sense for this rolled out approach. So that's just kind of a little bit of behind the scenes. But I think in our first year, and the numbers, I think we hit 48 million impressions, in the first 5 counties, which means that we're probably hitting people, might be 48 times, because I think it's a smaller population.
Yeah.
But just making sure that everyone knows about this, because it's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast. It's a new program in the state of New Jersey, and it really thrives on, that testimonial.
Yeah. And the social media aspect is working, because I do always try to ask, how'd you hear about our program? And I get social media, and working with the hospitals is helpful as well, because they see it on social media and then they go to the hospitals and they see a flyer and they're like, oh, this is what I've been seeing this whole time. Like, I should sign up. But it's really like making the connection. So, yeah.
And because it's universal, like when we're talking to families about this program, we're talking to them in their own language. So, we've got a plan built out to be able to support, I think, 20 different languages in our marketing materials. In the first year alone, nurse visits have occurred in 24 different languages. And I want to say a full 50% of all nurse visitors are bilingual,
Yeah.
in English and some other language. So I think we're really trying to make this, we're supporting a diverse state, and we're trying to make this as universal as possible for the families that we're supporting.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful point you mentioned with the universality of this program. That's the biggest question we always get. Like, am I eligible? Like, there's so many programs out here that may have an income requirement or may have certain criteria that you may have to meet. But with this program, it takes all of that off the table. And it really opens up a new world for families who may not be eligible for a lot of other programs. So I think that's the biggest key, that when it comes to the advertising and the networking with this program, families really appreciate that it is for every single person in the state of New Jersey, eventually. But we're just starting off in these counties at first. But I think that would be such an amazing thing for our families to experience and get that care. As a parent myself, who wasn't really eligible for a lot of programs, now that I'm seeing this program, I'm like a little bit jealous of Janina. I'm like, I wish I had this when, I had my kids. And it's like, at the time, I was a nurse, but like Janina said in the beginning, every child is different. Every journey is different. I mean, having a nurse come into your home and connect you with so many different things you don't even knew you needed or knew that was available to you it's such a beautiful thing. And it's such a beautiful program to have that in the state of New Jersey.
I had two at the same time.
Oh, well.
And just every child is different.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they were twins. Doesn't matter if they were, their delivery date was the same. They are still to this day, they're very different. I remember one of the early experiences, I had a boy and a girl. So my son, Jack, my daughter, Ava, and I've talked about them a lot on this podcast. But one of our early experiences was trying to find a child care center. And, shopping around, you want to make sure you got the best. And we brought our kids to this one center. The woman was lovely. She's a very, very nice woman. Oh, you've twins. It's such a blessing. A boy and a girl. That's so fantastic. One and done. You got your whole family one shot. Are they identical? Well, there's one's a boy and the other's a girl. So there's a difference. But but that sort of idea of just, every family's experience is different. Every child birth is different. Every child is different. And every child and family's needs are different. And being able to support that across the spectrum, I think, is one of the strengths of this program. I talked a little bit about that 15% of cases where we were referring to additional support. And, do we have the potential to really lower New Jersey's maternal mortality rate through this program?
I think we really do. Seeing what we have seen in the past year, there is so much change that's happening with this program because of its introduction. With this program, it's postpartum visits. So you're getting a visit anywhere from 8 to 14 days postpartum for a family. And that's an area where a family is now at home. So you've delivered your baby or you're taking care of a newborn and you're discharged. You kind of have this new life and you're like, what do I do with this? So it's that period where you're by yourself, whether you're with support system or you and your baby, and you're thinking, okay, how do I navigate this new journey that I'm on? And you're probably at that point waiting for an appointment to come up. So maybe you have your newborn check coming up. Maybe you have your postpartum visit coming up, but you're still by yourself that 8 to 14 days. So it's a really good area where a nurse now with this program is coming in at that time when no one's really checking in on you, so to speak. So they're catching things in that area that may not be caught in that postpartum appointment because it's a little bit further out, or it's not being caught in that well-child appointment with the pediatrician. So they're really coming in and they're identifying certain things that are happening in the home and maybe answering questions and unraveling certain things that you as a parent or a new caregiver is like, I didn't know I needed this, or I didn't know that's what this means. So now it encourages that conversation with your pediatrician. It encourages more conversation with your obstetrician. So now you're connecting this world. You have the nurse come into the home. They're telling you about these things. They're educating you. And now you're thinking, okay, I can now have a conversation with my medical providers. And now because of that, like you're saying, the 15%, a lot of it is built out of those times that we're in the home and we're taking that blood pressure, like Adama was mentioning, those vital signs. And we're finding like, oh, you have an elevated blood pressure. Is this something that you knew about? And sometimes families don't even know this. So now we're on the phone, we're calling their OBs, right there and then in the visit. And right away, the OB is saying, okay, you know what? Instead of that 6 weeks appointment or that 3 week appointment, let's push it up. Let's see them next week. Let's see them tomorrow. That's the urgency with this program, because you have that nurse coming in and identifying these different things. And same can be said for the baby, whether we're pushing up that newborn well child with a pediatrician. All these things are identified in that time frame when no one is really checking in on that new parent or those parents that have experience. But like you said, every child is different. So every journey is going to be different with its own different challenges.
Sure. And I think that idea of basically building a better healthcare consumer, that you're imparting information, you're allowing them to ask the right questions. But then the whole other part of this program that I think is really powerful is that because the visit's occurring in the home, this is the context that pediatricians miss or that obstetricians miss. If you're in an office, you're in a controlled environment. Oh, we doing okay over there?
Yeah.
She is probably one of the best kids.
Yes. Well, she had a pretty good morning. She did. She had a great morning. She was so excited.
She's doing fantastic.
Let's change over here. What do you think over here?
Yeah.
We dropped everything, but
She can get a better look at the host, I think.
yeah, there you go. You can see your host. Oh, thank you.
But yeah, that idea of, having that context of a healthcare visit in the home to see like the other circumstances or other things that might be at play. Adama, can you talk a little bit about that sort of idea of why it's so important to have this visit in home rather than like in an office?
Absolutely. I think you mentioned the whole control environment thing. That's a big deal. When we go into the homes, you kind of don't know what you're going to expect. And I think a lot of the times parents don't even know what their questions are. And sometimes it's the nurse that like, hey, I see that you're doing that. Tell me more about it. It could be something as simple as the way that they're mixing the bottle, just providing education on those small things that you observe during the visit could like end up preventing like a bigger problem in the long run. So I think it's just a great opportunity to kind of like just dig more into like what's going on with the family and like addressing those needs that they didn't even really know were needs.
Yeah, I'm thinking like co-sleeping is probably another one of those. And that's probably a third rail a little bit. That's a little bit delicate.
Some people see it as a problem. Some people don't. We always we emphasize, safe sleep for babies, and really kind of like educating the parent on what that means and why it's so important. Some people just feel like I need to be able to see my baby at all times, but it's just like when you're sleeping, can you? So really just providing that education. Just providing the education is the most important thing.
Yep. Janina, if you're ready.
No, I'm ready.
Okay.
Ready.
Yeah, you've got bigger priorities right now than a podcast.
Well, we're together all the time, so it's kind of nice to be like, new people.
There you go. I'm wondering, we talked a lot about the health screening and health implications of the visit, but what were some of the advice that you received that maybe weren't health related, but maybe related to parenting, related to some other aspect of having a new baby?
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. And I was, so the infant massage was definitely something kind of out of left field. I don't know how it got brought up. But like today, before we came, right, we did a nice, because I was too tired last night for bath time. So we had a nice bath and then this nice massage, and it does, like, that's what I mean. That information I didn't think I would get. So, but, yeah, I don't know where I put it, but definitely that one. Safety, yes, because obviously, safety around when you're tired and the baby, you don't want the baby to, like, that's my one thing is like, as a new parent, like getting used to being that tired
Yeah.
and thinking, just I don't want anything to happen, like falling asleep with the baby, even it happens, like just trying to minimize it.
Yeah.
The Halo sleep sack, that's my favorite one, the one that they brought. Yeah, and I've tried tons of, zipper ones and swaddles. Like, you want to try it all as a parent, and it's nice that they bring things that you can try, and just having them see your setup,
Yeah.
making sure it's conducive to babies.
Yes. No, I think this, being able to operate, in sleep deficit, I think is a big one. But I got to see if I can sign my wife up for that massage thing.
Yeah, well, they gave also some free cards to go to Montclair Baby, which I had already taken classes out there.
Okay.
But I do want to take the infant massage class. I think it's one of the days I work, but maybe I can take off or something.
Yeah. Well,
Really into it.
but
It
had I
helps with a lot of their problems.
absolutely
Or skin to skin, that was a big thing that was covered.
kangaroo care, yeah.
Yeah, and since my baby was in the NICU for a week, right, we went right into skin to skin, and she recovered very fast. So
Yep.
it helps with bleeding. Skin to skin does a lot of good for these guys.
Yeah.
There's just so many things that,
It's good for dads too.
yeah. Well, and that's the other thing I was saying, like any caregiver, right? Let's say it's dad or mom or an auntie or something, right? Like they can also participate in the visit.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so it's like come with questions. Like definitely that would be my recommendation.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the questions you wanted me to prepare for.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's fantastic.
I'm brain.
But that's a good call out though, to come with questions. You don't know what you don't know. So I think as you're going through having the conversation, being open to learning some new things, and then maybe that'll pivot to some other questions. I do want to reference that Janina stepped out with Juliet for a second, the magic of editing. So if you're wondering where that wonderful baby went, she's fine. She's getting a bottle. Totally okay. But I did want to ask about, and Janina brought up this point around caregivers participating in the appointment. I'm wondering how often, Adama, when you've gone out, how often have you been meeting with, not just mom and baby, but mom, baby, and someone else from the family?
Sure. So I would say more than half of my visits include another family member or partner, because, we really encourage it because it's that concept of it takes a village. Mom is taking care of the baby, but in the evening or at night, grandma could be taking care of the baby or someone else. So we really want everyone to have that information. And also, it's not only important for baby, but for mom as well. So when we talk about those things like postpartum depression or the other postpartum warning signs, sometimes mom doesn't realize it's happening first. Sometimes it's the family members.
Yeah.
So it's really important that everyone is privy to this information on the best way to support, the caregiver and the new baby.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's worth pointing out is that whole idea of sleep deficit.
Yeah.
Did you actually hear what you just heard? And being able to remember, okay, what was that guy? I know she was saying something. What was that?
Yeah.
Getting that second opinion sometimes I think is really helpful.
Yeah. And it provides an opportunity for the caregivers to collaborate, Like you said, sleep deprivation. Did you remember what the nurse said? Or she said this? Or remember we should be incorporating this? And again, just going back to that, it takes a village. It's not just one person that's helping to care for this child.
Yeah, absolutely. I have one final question, and I know Janina shared some ideas around this, but what's one suggestion you may have as we move forward with this program? What can we do to make this program the best it can be for the families of the state of New Jersey?
Sure, I'll go first. I think hearing feedback from the moms that have already, or the caregivers that have already participated in the program. Again, we don't know what we don't know. So really hearing that feedback to make the connection to provide the families with what they need to in this postpartum period, I think would be great, just to elevate the program.
Great.
And I'll say just keep on letting the families know that it's for everyone. I think the biggest thing that we can help to create this to be an even bigger program is just making sure that there's a presence with this program in all birthing facilities, all clinics, all shopping places that birthing individuals or families interact with or introduce themselves in different areas for. I think would be very beneficial just to see it. Adama mentioned it earlier that sometimes when she's asking families about how did you hear about the program, they're saying, I see it on social media, but then I get to the birthing facility and I also see it, in a waiting area or I see it in a postpartum room. So I think if all hospitals can be on board with that, just making sure that those flyers are up in those rooms. I think of myself just going into a regular well child appointment with my kids. Anything I see advertised, I'm very curious to see, what's this about? Maybe my kids can benefit from this, So it's just those little things that can go really far, especially with this program. I think you guys did a great job with the QR code and, with this world that we live in, just having a very simple QR code is the best thing for families to just pull out their phones or pull out whatever they can just to scan that and it takes you right to our website. So I think that's a beautiful thing, just getting it out there in all those different places that families really find themselves in various, areas of life.
Great. And as Janina said, come with questions. Because I think as, you're coming to these appointments, it's really a support for the family. No question is too small, too insignificant. Every question is important. And, if we don't have the answers, and Adam, I'm sure you do have all the answers.
God, no.
But if we don't, we can always get that answer to you. That's an important call out with this program. So Xiomara, Adama, and of course, Janina and Juliet, thank you so much for joining us here on DCF on the Air. Looking ahead, we've got a full schedule of wonderful programming upcoming. And whether you're a new family or you're an established family, whether you need support with a baby, support with an older youth, there's lots of information to get through this program through DCF on the Air. So on behalf of my producers, the Office of Communications at the Department of Children and Families, thank you so much for joining us and tune in next time for more DCF on the Air.